Yağmur Yüksel's audacious night sent ripples through the entire entertainment scene. One choice, one look, one dress, and suddenly every whisper in the corridors of show business grew louder. Welcome to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Before we dive into what really happened and why it matters, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a reveal. Now, let's talk about the moment that put Yağmur and Barış Baktas at the center of every conversation. A black mugler gown at the ELLE Style Awards 2026, and a silence more powerful than applause. Was it just style or a statement crafted with intent? It's no secret that Esra Fariha rules the ratings and the headlines. With each episode, curiosity about its stars grows. Playing Nisan, Yağmur Yüksel has been watched not only for her acting but for the energy she carries beyond the set. This season, every step, every pose, every rumor around her has been magnified. And then came the night of the ELLE Style Awards 2026, where black didn't just mean elegance. It meant mystery, distance, resolve. The question that filled social media was simple: was this merely effortless refinement, or a carefully coded message addressed to anyone reading between the lines? Let's start with that dress. Mugler. Beaded. Sculpted to the body with a clean, commanding silhouette. The first wave of reactions was immediate, simple and elegant. Clean-cut praise, short captions, instant shares. But those who study the language of fashion, those who understand how choices play like chess moves in a star's public life, recognized something else. Black doesn't just flatter, black declares. It whispers nobility, it implies control, and it shields private emotion behind a flawless surface. In that moment, Yağmur seemed to raise her chin as if to say, without a word, I'm here. You can look, but you can't read me. Every detail was deliberate. Loose hair that didn't compete with the dress. Jewelry that was bold yet considered. Makeup with precision, luminous skin, a gaze sharpened just enough to feel magnetic, and lips that didn't need to shout. Sources backstage say she spent hours with her styling team in the days leading up to the ceremony, calibrating a look that held both accessibility and distance. Assertive, yet controlled. Warm on the edges, cool at the core. Then, the comparison started. Social feeds pulled up photos of Dua Lipa and Georgina Rodriguez in the same design, positioning Yağmur shoulder to shoulder with global names. Was it coincidence, or something more calculated? Within minutes, side-by-side collages spread, with captions declaring, Global League, Power Move, and, of course, Icon Energy. As the clips circled the internet, the conversation widened from styling to subtext. Black wasn't only flattering, it was strategic. And there was the tension everyone noticed but no one quite defined. Cold glances? Brief conversations? Yes, and that became the night's second storyline. In some corners, whispers said the distance was between castmates. In others, all eyes moved to the couple, Yağmur and Barış Baktas. They arrived under the same roof, but not in lockstep. Barış kept to his lane, respectful, composed, letting the spotlight pour over her without interception. Some read it as support, others read it as caution. Was this a protective strategy to avoid diluting her moment, or a carefully maintained gap hinting at something fragile? Depending on which table you stood by, the answer changed. In April, Yağmur Yüksel, the face of Esra Fariha's relentless momentum, wore black. Simple and elegant, said the headlines. A secret message, argued those who think imagery speaks louder than press releases. Both can be true. Week after week, the series keeps the crown, and with every victory, the pressure inside that set grows. Colleagues say Yağmur's devotion to Nisan is absolute, her preparation intense, her boundaries sharper than ever. Off camera, that can look like detachment. More than one observer has wondered whether she carries Nisan home, whether she can step out from the character's gaze at midnight and leave it on the dressing room door. Some close to the production describe it as a season of discipline. The idea that the black dress mirrored her headspace isn't far-fetched. Nisan is strong and self-contained, with a tenderness she does not showcase easily. At the ELLE Style Awards, the resemblance was uncanny. She moved through the venue like a figure from the screen, composed and untouchable, a living illustration of how persona and performance can blur. The line between them might be thin, but it's no accident. Those with a long memory call this image management at its most deliberate, a way to steady the narrative while it races ahead of you. And make no mistake, the narrative is racing. Only weeks earlier, Yağmur picked up the Inspirational Actress of the Year honor at the 61st Golden Awards. That win reframed her arc from rising talent to defining force. Pair that with Mugler on a night like this, and brands took notice. Backstage, the buzz was relentless. Long-term collaborations in the works, exclusive campaigns penciled into calendars, international introductions being brokered at midnight meetings. Some will say the Mugler choice validated that momentum, as if the gown itself came stamped with a passport to the global stage. Then came the strategic question: coincidence or coordination? The fact that Dua Lipa and Georgina Rodriguez had previously worn the same design gave the moment an imported sparkle. Was Yağmur stepping into a lineage of power dressing with intention, or simply drawn to an exquisite silhouette that happened to have a global resume? Sources close to her insist she welcomes the comparisons. They don't rattle her, they fuel her. If anything, they suggest that she's ready to be measured by international standards, and to measure up. Now, about those backstage glances everyone keeps talking about. The ELLE Style Awards lived on more than trophies that night. There were pocket conversations, slow nods, intentional pauses. Yağmur spoke to few people, and when she did, the exchanges were brief and cordial. She kept her smile for the cameras, then let her face rest. Some called it exhaustion, long days on set, a rolling schedule, the kind of fatigue that follows you even into a custom gown. Others called it a calculated calm. Even the unsmiling moment becomes a message when the world is trying to read you. Where was Baris in all this? Present, but peripheral. Watching without overshadowing. He allowed the room to see her as singular. Still, his quietness fed the mill. Had there been an earlier disagreement? Was he stepping back as a sign of respect, or because both believed the night should belong entirely to her image? Friends say their communication has become exceptionally careful lately, not colder, just sharper, fewer words, more intent. The kind of choreography couples learn under the bright lights of constant scrutiny. Meanwhile, talk from the set continued to surface. With Esreferia topping charts, the pressure to deliver never dips. Crew members describe Yağmur as focused to the point of disappearing into Nisan on heavy days. When the director calls cut, her stillness lingers, as if the character needs time to dissolve. For those outside the process, that can look like distance, and distance becomes a rumor if you stare at it long enough. Her black dress, in that context, reads like armor, well-cut armor, but armor nonetheless. Magazine editors who watched the entire arc of the evening reached a similar conclusion: a new chapter has begun. The black didn't deny the gossip, it rose above it. It pointed to a future where Yağmur isn't just a national fixture but a name held in international conversations. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. You don't have to speak to announce you've crossed a line. Still, the public fixated on the parallels to Nisan. It was as if Nisan were on the red carpet, wrote one viral comment, and that line captured why the night felt so memorable. Whether intentional or not, she allowed her screen strength to bleed into real life. That kind of alignment is rare, and it's persuasive. It transforms style into storytelling. As the night drew on, the coolness became part of the aesthetic. Photographers caught a serious gaze that felt cinematic, and the feeds turned those frames into icons, the sort of images that define a season. Every angle suggested the same idea. The elegance was simple, yes, but the message was anything but. It told you she had learned to stand within the swirl of speculation without being swallowed by it. The conversation didn't end at the exit. Days later, the commentary kept evolving. Fashion critics debated the minimalism, brand insiders quietly lined up. Fans clipped together side-by-sides with Dua Lipa and Georgina Rodriguez, arguing about who wore it best while noting that the comparison itself said everything. And in the quieter corners, industry veterans insisted this was a trial balloon for international work. After the Golden Awards win and this elaborate night at ELLE, how could it not be? Even the brief interactions between Yağmur and Barış have become their own storyline. A glance that looked colder than usual, a step taken a beat too late, a moment where their smiles didn't sync, tiny things, magnified by lenses trained to find them. Some saw a couple protecting their life by not feeding the spectacle. Others saw the careful distance as evidence of strains. But if there's a shared intention here, it's composure. If the plan was to stop the chatter, they'd have held hands and laughed their way past the cameras. If the plan was to keep mystery alive, they succeeded. Mystery sells. Mystery protects. So where does this leave Yağmur? In another league, say the magazine editors who are already drafting their year-end lists. Her awards, the discipline on set, the Mugler statement, the rise from local sensation to an international caliber presence, all arrows point in the same direction. She didn't shrug off the gossip, she outgrew it. And by the end of the night, that's what lingered. Not the rumor of a cool evening, not the buzz about who stood where and why, but the impression of a star who decided how she wants to be seen, then made it happen. The result? To some, it was purely refinement, a clean silhouette, classic beauty, and poise. To others, it was a chess move. Simple and elegant on the surface, strategic and loaded beneath. And if you ask the people who study these nights frame by frame, the truth doesn't need to pick a side. It can be both. The Black Mugler at the ELLE Style Awards 2026 will be discussed for a long time. Because beyond the beads and the fit, there was intent. Because behind the intent, there was transformation. And yes, we're going further into what that message might be. Was the choice of black in April a nod to Nissan's resilience, or a subtle declaration that she's ready for what comes after Esra Furya? Was stepping into a dress shared by Dua Lipa and Georgina Rodriguez a coincidence, or a conscious alignment with the world stage? And where does Barış stand in all of this, a step behind to let the story focus, or a careful partner learning how to move with a woman approaching a new height? You tell us. Share your thoughts in the comments. Is this the moment where Yağmur shifts from national favorite to global force? Is the calm exterior just serenity, or strategy? We'll spotlight the most thoughtful takes in our next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss the angles others don't see. This is Turkish Spotlight Secrets, and trust us, the story is just beginning.